Today I'm delighted to be talking to Dick Hoyt. Rick Hoyt uses a wheelchair that has not stopped him from living a very full and amazing life. He's competed in Boston Marathon 30 times and in Ironman Triathlon 6 times. He, along with his dad Dick, have formed Team Hoyt and they have competed around the world doing marathons and triathlons. The Hoyts have competed more than 1,000 athletic events in the last 34 years. They've run in 70 marathons, 31 of them being the Boston Marathon. They've also completed in 252 triathlons, 6 of them being Ironman distance events. Welcome, Dick.
Welcome.
Okay, what inspires you to start racing?
Well, actually, it's my son that inspires me to start racing. You know, when he was born, they said, put him away, put him in an institution. He's going to be nothing but a vegetable for the rest of his life. And we didn't do that. We brought Rick home and we brought him up like any other child, you know. And so Rick, you know, he can't talk. He can't use his arms and his legs, but he's graduated from high school. He's graduated from Boston University. He lives all by himself in his own apartment. And as you said, Rick and I have competed in 1,100 athletic events in the past 34 years. Well, we knew Rick was very smart. We could tell by looking in his eyes that he's paying attention and he understood everything we were saying. So we tried to get him into public school and they said, no, he doesn't understand. He won't be able to learn. So what we did is we taught Rick the alphabet. We did a lot of reading with him and taught him the numbers and stuff. And then we went and met some engineers from Tufts University in Boston. And we talked to them and they said the same thing, that he wouldn't be able to learn. So we told the engineers to tell Rick a joke. They told Rick a joke and Rick cracked up laughing. And they said, wow, maybe there is something there. So they said, if you can get us $5,000, we'll build a communicating device for Rick. Now, you got to remember, this was 45 years ago, and $5,000 was a lot of money.
Yes, right.
But the Hoyt family raised the $5,000. We gave it to the engineers, and he put what was called the TIC, the Tufts Interactive Communicator. The engineers are coming to a house, and everybody's betting on the first words Rick is ever going to say. Well, his mom's saying it's going to be, hi, Mom, and me, the dad, no, it's going to be, hi, Dad. Well, the Boston Bruins were going for the Stanley Cup. The very first words he ever said was, go Bruins. So we knew right then and there that he understood everything that was going on, and he loved sports. So we tried to get Rick into school again, and the principal of the school took Rick in a room with some teachers, and they left us outside because before they were saying we were answering for him. They asked him questions, he answered them correctly, and they had to accept him in public school. And then after that, Rick started to use his computer so he could communicate to everybody in the world. And he was attending his physical ed teacher from a South Middle School in Westfield, Massachusetts, got him involved in all the gym activities with all the other children. And he was also the basketball coach at Westfield State College. And he used to take Rick to the basketball games. Well, at one of the basketball games, they made an announcement that one of the lacrosse players from the college was in an automobile accident. He was paralyzed from the waist down. So they're going to have a charity road race to try to help him raise some money. And when Rick came home from that game, he told me all about it via his computer. And he said, Dad, I have to do something for him. I want to let him know that life goes on even though he's paralyzed. I want to run in the race. Well, at the time, I was 40 years old. I was not a runner. I used to run maybe 3 times a week, a mile each time. And that's all we had was a Mulholland wheelchair, which was prescription form fitted to Rick's body. And we had a hard time pushing him in it, never mind running in it. But we went down to that race. It was a 5-mile race. The gun went off, and Rick and I took off with all the other runners. Well, everybody thought that Rick and I would just go to the corner and turn around and come back. Well, we didn't. We did the whole 5 miles, coming in next to last, but not last. And the gym teacher's wife took a picture of it, and we came across the finish line, and Rick had the biggest smile you ever saw in your life. When we got home that night, Rick wrote on his computer, Dad, when I'm running, it feels like my disability disappears, which was a very powerful message to me if you think about it. Somebody can't talk, use their arms and their legs, and now they're out there running. The disability disappears. He called himself Freebird because now he was free and able to be out there competing and running with everybody else. And he actually had a sign made up that said Freebird that he attached to his running chair. But that's one of his favorite songs. So Rick is the one that inspires and motivates me. The easiest thing in the world for him to do was to give up, but he never gives up. He's a fighter, and he never will give up.
Wow. So which is the most memorable racing you have with Rick?
You know, that's a very difficult question out of 1,100 races to say, because there's so many. Because, you know, when Rick and I first started running, nobody wanted us in the races or anything. You know, they didn't know what to do with us. And, you know, when we took Rick to restaurants, people didn't want him in restaurants. They didn't want to let him go to school. They didn't want us in races, you know. And then our message is, yes, you can. There isn't anything you can't do. So I would have to say the first time that we were able to run the Boston Marathon, because we were turned down in 1981 and 1982 and 1983. And what they said was that we had to qualify. See, the Boston Marathon is the only marathon in the world where you have to run another marathon a certain time depending on your age. Well, at the time, Rick was in his 20s, I was in my 40s. They were using Rick's age for us to qualify. And that meant we had to run under 2 hours and 50 minutes. And see, that was their way of getting rid of us. They said there's no way a 40-year-old man can push his 20-year-old son in a wheelchair and run under 2 hours and 50 minutes. So that fall, we went down to Washington, D.C. to the Marine Marathon, which is called the People's Marathon. And anybody can run in this marathon. They always draw over 15,000 runners. Well, we went down and ran in that marathon in 2 hours, 45 minutes, and 17 seconds. And that qualified both Rick and I for the Boston Marathon. So you see all the battles that we had to fight. But our message is, yes, you can. There isn't anything you can't do as long as you make up your mind to do it.
So I'm sure that
I would say that the Boston Marathon, you know, because we broke down all those barriers. But you know, we've done the Ironman triathlon out in Kona, Hawaii, and that's the world championship. And Rick and I, the first people in the world to ever do it the way we do it, and that was back in 1989. And nobody has done it since then. There's people coming up now. They're probably going to be doing it. And there's another thing, 5 years ago was the 30th anniversary of the Hawaiian Ironman triathlon. And up until that point, there had only been 25 people in the world inducted into the Ironman Triathlon Hall of Fame. Well, Rick became number 26 and I became number 27.
Wow. So every day Team Hoyt receives emails and letters from around the world thanking Team Hoyt for the inspiration. So what is the most touching story?
The most touching story, you know, there's so many of them again, and I'll give you some of them because, you know, we get emails now from people all over the world.
Wow.
We've had girls, young girls, email us and said they were ready to commit suicide, and they saw our story, and now they're out there running and doing triathlons. We've had drug addicts, we've had alcoholics that are now clean because of our story. There's just so many of them. And now there's 25 franchises in the United States that are doing what Rick and I have been doing for 34 years. And it's getting bigger and bigger. And we've also heard from Japan, they'd like us to go over and start them over there. And I feel that in a few years, a couple years, there's going to be races that are out. And you're not going to be able to run in races unless you're pushing somebody that's physically challenged in a chair. That's how big it's getting, and that's how much we're affecting people all over the world.
So what is the life experience our readers can learn from Team Hoyt?
What they can learn from Team Hoyt is our message, yes, you can. Because for 51 years, everybody's been saying, no, you can't. And there's no such word as can't in the Hoyt vocabulary.
Okay. And you wrote books and you set up a charity. Mind to share with us what's your books and charity about?
Okay, our charity was started in 1989. And what we do is we raise money. We're a 501c nonprofit private organization. And we raise money for a lot of big other organizations like Easter Seals. In our 25th running of the Boston Marathon, we were able to raise $370,000, and all of that money went to Easter Seals. And Easter Seals' mission is for people who are physically challenged be able to live, learn, work, and play. And all of this money is helping them out. And we also contribute money because of Rick, the way he communicates with a computer through the Communication Enhancement Program at Children's Hospital. And we've also raised money for therapeutic horseback riding programs and other families that can't afford to send their children away to the camps in the summertime and stuff. And it's not that big of a foundation, but we do a lot with what we have for the foundations.
Yep. How about your books?
Our books is when we first started running, people started coming around and say, Rick and Dick, you guys have got to write books because you guys are so inspirational, and these people can get the books and read them. And so I wrote my own book, and it's called "It's Only a Mountain." But I'm not a good writer, so I met a professional writer, and we wrote it together. And it's called "It's Only a Mountain," because that's what people think of. We go over mountains and stuff, so it's only a mountain. But it's very inspirational, and it's a very, very powerful message to all people who are physically challenged. But it also helps people so that when they hear our story and read our books, they say, I'm going home and spend more time with my children. And I'm going to go home and hug my children and stuff. And I'm going to go out and run so I can lose some weight and be in better condition than what I am now. And Rick also has a book out, and it's called Rick's Story. Now, this book is a book for school children for 1 to 4th grade, and he talks about growing up in a family with a disability. And it's very powerful. A lot of libraries use it, and a lot of schools use it. And I just had another book written. It's called Devoted, A Father's Love for His Son. Yep. And that one is also very powerful and very inspirational. And matter of fact, there's some stories in it from people in different countries in the world talking about what we have done for them and for their countries and stuff. And now Rick just came out with another new book. It's called One Letter at a Time, because that's how Rick has to communicate. He has a computer, and he controls it with a head switch. So it's just one click at a time. And what happens is he clicks it once, and a word will pop up, and then a letter will pop up, and that second letter comes up, and then words will pop up on the left-hand side. So then he goes over and hits the words. Once he gets a sentence done or a paragraph done, then he hits another switch, and it's voice activated where you can hear him talking, because he is a motivational speaker. He's out doing a lot of speakers to schools and big companies, and he travels with me around doing his speaking engagements also.
So where can we get the books?
You can get the books. You go to teamhoyt.com, and we have a great website in there. And I recommend anybody that goes to our website. There's a picture of Rick and I there, and there's a little arrow there, and for them to press that arrow. And this video, it's only 4.5 minutes long, but this will inspire and motivate everybody. It's unbelievable. So go to teamhoyt.com for our website and our books, and we do have 3 DVDs that are out too also.
Okay, so what's next for Team Hoyt?
Well, a lot of people, I'm 73 years old now, and a lot of people saying, well, you guys are still competing. Yes. They're saying, what else have you guys can do? You've run and biked across the United States. You've been to all different countries doing triathlons and road races and speaking engagements. We were out inspiring people, and now we get so many emails and letters from other families and other people, and now they are motivating and inspiring Rick and I. And so we're going to continue as long as we can. There's no more Ironman triathlons in us, and I don't know if you heard this year about the Boston Marathon, where there was bombs went off, and we were stopped at 25 miles. And they actually had a bronze statue. Like I tell everybody, when Rick was born, they say he's going to be nothing but a vegetable. Now he turned into a bronze statue, which is in place at the starting line of the Boston Marathon. And it really is beautiful. So we are going to continue going. We're still going to do 20 to 25 races a year, but they won't be the long ones. They'll be like an Olympic distance triathlon, swim. You swim like probably 9/10 of a mile, and then you bike about 26 miles, and then you run a 10K. And we'll do that size and below. And then as far as running goes, we'll be running maybe half marathons, 10 miles. and 5Ks and stuff. But now we get invited to so many road races, and they're all different types of distances. So we're not ready to give up yet.
Yeah, yes, man. So any final advice for our readers?
What's that?
Any final advice for our readers?
Yes, our advice is to take our message, yes, you can, but just people got to go and enjoy their families. This is what we do, and make sure that children get a great education, because nowadays, if you don't get a good education, it's going to be very difficult to get jobs and stuff like that. But spend time with the children. This is what's very, very important, and a lot of people don't spend that much time with their children. To me, you shouldn't be having children unless you plan on having fun with them and a good time with them and doing things with them, you know? And this is what I have done, and it's just amazing, because I have 2 other sons, and we all do things together, and we're a great family, and we just enjoy the whole family all the time. Spend more time with your children, make sure they get a great education, and get them involved in the sports, and maybe they're not athletes, but get them, you know, so they play a piano or sing songs, and do different things with them. But they are your children, so make them great, just like the parents are.
Yes, right, I agree. I love the relationship you have with Rick. It's fantastic relationship.
Yes, we have a special bond
Yes,
that
right.
isn't like any other bond you'll see in the world. And we know what each other is thinking and all that, because we've spent so much time together. It's just amazing.
Okay, thanks for your time. I think that's all for the interview.
Well, thank you very much. It's nice talking to you. Good luck.
Okay, right, bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.